Hi folks, and welcome to this, which is the third video in the setup series. So in this video I'm going to take on the topic of breathing. It's a topic that's important to all of us. It's important to all of us because every single person who's watching this video is an expert in breathing because we need to breathe to live. But this is a little bit different because it's breathing not just to live, but breathing to play a brass instrument. And there are a lot of thoughts about breathing, and I'm going to delve into the most basic and simple global ideas about it in this video. If you first understand that breathing isn't actually playing a note, but breathing is in itself a reaction to getting ready to play a note, that saves a lot of trouble. And here's what I mean. If we want to play a note at 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, well then in order to be able to play that note we have to breathe ahead of time. But how you breathe is a reaction to wanting to play that note. So in a rhythm, 1, 2, 3, and you're ready to go. What that means is if you imagine it sort of like a tennis swing, when a tennis player wants to swing at a tennis ball, what do? They look at the ball, and then as the ball comes, they react to it with their backswing, and then they come back forward to strike the ball. And we can do the same thing when we breathe. So the first thing is that every breath should have a rhythm to it. So if we count, if we want to count ourselves off, if I want to play a middle F and my tempo is 1, 2, 3, I have a really good start to being able to play that note simply because I've breathed in a rhythmical way. The second aspect of breathing that I want to explain is just what it means to breathe for being a brass, for playing a brass instrument. And that is that we want to play notes for a long period of time, and we want to get the most amount of air in the shortest amount of time that we can. So that means, one, that we need to fill up as much as we can, which means we want to use all of our lung space, all of our lung capacity, and second, we want to do so in as efficiently and as effortlessly a way as we can. We want that to be very open and to get as much air in as short amount of time as possible, especially when we're talking about the middle of a phrase. But if we're talking about beginning a phrase, what we're actually talking about is filling our lungs up. What does it mean to fill ourselves up? It's important to understand just basic physiology. Our lungs are underneath our rib cage on either side. And for a while it was thought with brass instruments that you want to breathe from your diaphragm. And I use that quote, breathe from your diaphragm. And what that meant was that you would breathe pushing out the bottom of your belly like this. But we've come to know better that our lungs aren't down here. Our lungs are actually up here. And when you breathe and you actually take air in, your lungs expand. And when your lungs expand, your rib cage goes up. And you can see that if I turn to the side here, you can see that if I place my hand on my rib cage and then I breathe, and you'll also notice my shoulder blades, my shoulders, will go up a little bit too. Because your shoulders rest on top of your ribs. And that's what a natural breath looks like. We don't want to adulterate it. We don't want to make it more complicated than it is. And a good way of breathing could be, a good way to think of this could be, if you wanted to take dunk your head under the water in a pool, you would go, and that's the kind of breath you would take. It's really simple. In terms of sounds, sometimes we like to talk about sounds for a breath. I simply like to use what our doctor asks us to use when we go to the doctor. And he says, hey, I want to see inside your throat. Say ah. We say ah. Well, if we do that when we breathe in, it's a very open sound. It's a very open breath. So when we play, if we incorporate the rhythm along with that breath, 1, 2, 3. And if you're wondering why I'm not taking a lot of time to breathe, it's because like a tennis player, if a tennis player sees the ball coming at them with a certain amount of velocity, they don't want to take a really long backswing and then strike the ball because that's not a reaction. That's turning the breath into an event. But if we allow the breath to be a reaction to the playing of the note, that's when we'll have the best success at breathing. Once again, a demonstration. 1, 2, 3. So, I hope hope you find this helpful and a good explanation for your students as you get them started on playing your brass instrument. Good luck!